video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this dress. I'm making it for a client. So basically, the first thing I did is to draft a basic bodice. So basically, her shoulder divided by 2 is what I have here. Put in her armhole, and then the width is just her bust divided by 4 plus extra 1.5, 1 inch of seam allowance, and like half an inch for ease. So after that, the next thing I'm going to do is to check the length I'm working with. So it depends on you what you want. So what I'm going to do, how I made my length is just 1 inch below her armhole. So 1 inch below her armhole on the side where it's going to have a sleeve attached to the shoulder, and then extra about 5 inches below on this other side. You see, so on this side is just 1 inch right from under the armhole here, but on this side is going to be 5 inches below on this side. So basically, in total, what I have here is her shoulder to about 15.5. So 15.5 is what I have for the upper bodies, but for a smaller person you can do less than that. So what I'm going to do is, because so why I did 1 inch here and then 5 inches here is because, remember, it's going to be asymmetrical starting from the beginning. So I'm going to remove 0.1 inch here. So I'm going to, and then connect it all the way to the edge of this other one. So you see, but I didn't get to the end because there's supposed to be a 1 inch of seam allowance on this side. So I stopped almost to that point, you see. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut this off, right? So once I cut it off, the next step is going to be the neckline. So for the neckline, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this back again. What I used initially is the 3 inches of neckline, but I want to extend it a little bit to at least 4 inches or 3.5. So to widen the neck, because if you look at it, you see that the neck is a little bit open. So I'm going to do 3.5 and then cut that off, because it's still going to be 4 inches, but I'm leaving that half an inch for when I use bias to run it over. So guys, now the sleeve, for the off shoulder part, what I'm going to do is I want the sleeve to be joined to the body of the clothes. But if you don't want it that way, you can also do the one like how this is on the thumbnail. You see her sleeve is just sewn, the cloth is already closed up, and then this is attached to it, right? You can also do that style, but for me, I want the sleeve to be joined to the body of this. But if you want it to look exactly like this part is going to be closed up, and then you just use a stitch to put in your sleeve on one side, on one shoulder, what you can do is just to give it an off shoulder that is going to blend in from this point here, like this. Just give it an off shoulder that is going to go in this way. That's one shoulder this way, and then all you have to do is just to run bias here and then close up this armhole, and then just make a circle, a sleeve, and then just use maybe a zigzag to just put it in here. So when the person wears it, they just put in their hand inside of it. But for me, I want the sleeve to join to the body of this clothes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here by at least 5 inches or so down here, and then I'm going to connect it from this one shoulder this way to this other side. You see what I'm saying now? So it's different. If you want it to just cut off entirely so that you can close it and join the sleeve, is okay. If you also want the sleeve to be a part of the clothes, not just attached maybe with a zigzag stitch to the body, you can do this my method now. So guys, after that, whichever one you decide to do, just remember that you're still going to come down on this side of the shoulder by at least 3 inches, right? So because you need to make the neckline blend a little bit. If not, this is going to choke you by the neck. So you need to bring it down 3 inches or so, and then use it as a curve now to blend into this line. You can use your free hand. Just make sure you just bring, this is basically to bring down the neck a little so that this neck is not too high on you. So now this is exactly what I need. So I've brought it down. Now again, I'm going to connect it into this 5.5 or 6 inches depending on what you're working with, right? So this is basically my neckline now. I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. because remember this is just 1 inch of neckline that we had, which is normally what you use for your back neckline, but you still have to bring it down for 3 inches that we normally use for the front neckline, just so that it's not too high. So this is basically the bodice we need. So I'm going to use this now to trace both the front and the back. So guys, this is what we are working with. I'm going to trace out 2 of these, one for the front, one for the back. So guys, you see how I trace this now? So the next thing I'm going to do is this side that is going to have the sleeve. You see, on this side, I'm just going to take one piece, because as you can see, I cut out 2 of it, one for the back, one for the front. I'm just going to take one piece of that, the one that is going to be in front, and I'm going to chip off a little from the front, just so the sleeve can relax better in front. So I can just remove just this much, about 0.5. you see. So now my front armhole is better now. So now the next thing is our sleeve, guys. So for the sleeve, this is what I'm using. So you're going to measure. So guys, for the sleeve, I came down 2 inches and then extra 4 inches for the normal cap height, and then what I have here is her armhole divided by 2 plus like extra 3 inches for want the sleeve to be. This extra 2 inches I have here is for the puffiness at the top. The total length I have here is about 15 inches. So what I'm going to do is, on this line here, I'm going to rule a line from this point here all the way to the end. And then what I'm going to do is to find halfway through. So halfway through that is going to be 6.5. And then I'm going to give it a curve below from here and then take it up to the top. So this is actually a puffy sleeve that I'm making here. So what I'm going to do is just to take it this way. And I'm going to cut off this excess. But guys, remember we are doing 2 sleeves, right? So what I'm going to do is, we're doing just one side is going to have this particular sleeve. So let me notch it and separate it. One side, which is this side, is going to have this particular sleeve, and then the other side, I'm going to cut off this top part of it, right? For this other side here, I'm going to cut off this upper part. So what, guys, what you can do is, before you cut it, you can just take one and cut it this way, and then the second one, just take your rectangular fabric the way this one is, and then you can just place it this way and then cut off the excess and then the length. You understand? So now what I can do for mine, since I already cut it this way, is just to cut off this much from it, and then I'm going to use my fabric to fold it, because I can't fold it on itself. So I'm going to just take extra fabric from one of my piece here and then use it as just join it back like this to make a casing for my elastic. Just join something here this way so that elastic can pass on top of it, and then these other parts can be joined to the body of the sleeve. And then remember, I'm also going to fold this bottom part here for my elastic. Same goes for this one here. I'm also going to fold this bottom here for elastic, and then this top part here, I'm going to gather it to make the puffiness. So guys, let me go ahead and join this part now, and then I'll bring it back so that we can do the rest of the body. So guys, this is it here. So I've gone ahead and joined the body of this to this. So basically, like I said, the shoulder to the waist, the shoulder to the top part of this body that I measured was 15 inches, right? If you can remember. So the shoulder from one side, under the arm, I did 1 inch on this side, and then on this other side I did 5 inches, right? So from the shoulder to the end is actually 15, because from where the armhole stops is at 10. You understand? So now what I have here, this is for a very double XL. So from her shoulder to the 15 inches, I already used half an inch to join this top part here. So I'm going to use half an inch from this part of it here to join. So that will be 14 inches left for me, right? Because I've already taken half an inch to join this part, and then I'm going to use this to join the next part. So the length of her dress is supposed to be 38. Right? So like I said, now that 15 inches, half an inch has gone to seam allowance here, and the other half an inch will go for the seam allowance here, leaving us with 14 in between. So I'm going to subtract 14 from this dress length, which is 38. This is above her knee, 3 inches above her knee, right? So what I'm left with is going to be 24. So from this 24 now, I'm going to split it into 2. So what I'm going to do is 24 divided by 2. That's for the 2 layers. So that's going to leave me with 12 here and then another 12. So 12 for the center and 12 for the lower one. But to the center one, I'm going to add 1 inch, and then to the lower one that is going to finish the dress, I'm going to add 1.5, because for this center one, I need half an inch to join this part and half an inch to join the next part, right? But for the last line, I'm going to need half an inch to join it to the upper part, and then 1 inch to fold the edge of the cloth. So that's why we added 1.5 to the lower one. You understand? This is for the length. So what I'm going to do is, the next color I'm using is brown, which is this one. And what I have as the length is actually 13 inches. That's the 12 inches I talked about, plus extra 1 inch. So half an inch of it is going to join this part, and half an inch of it is going to join the next orange, which is this one coming to the bottom. But guys, the width of the fabric is just her bust measurement times 2. So her bust is 45 times 2 of that, so that's going to be about 95. So the width of this fabric here is 95. So the width of this here is 95, but the length is 13. So I'm going to take it now and join it to the body of this, and then after joining it, I'll come back so we can remove a few inches from it before we join the next length. So guys, as you can see, this is what it looks like right now. You see, one side is higher, one side is lower, right? Even from this, you can see that it's still this way. So what I'm going to do now is, I'm going to take the next layer and join it to it. So this next layer, like I said, I already told you guys what the length will be. I'm going to take it and join it to it. But once I join this next layer now, that's when I will cut every other thing to be equal. You understand? Because the first one is where we cut the distance of 1 inch to 3 inches. Guys, if you want it to be even more visible, I did 1 inch to 5 inches from the underarm. Remember, we did come down 1 inch on this side and then 5 inches on this other side from the underarm. But if you want yours to be quite noticeable, you can do more than that, just so that the difference is like more. But this is what I'm working with. So now guys, I'm going to take this next layer, join it to this. I've already told you how to calculate it, right? So I'm going to join it to it. Once I do that, I'm going to go to the other side, this end now, that is going to have this longer part now, because this part is now going to be longer, and then I'm going to cut off that 5.5 from the bottom of this one coming towards this side. That will balance out the length of my cloth. But before that, let's just go ahead and join it. So how you're going to calculate the width you're going to use to do round this one is just to add, like I said, to get this one, I did my her bust measurement times 2, right? So to get the next layer, the width that I'm going to use to get it, I'm going to do whatever I got, which is I did her bust times 2 for this, which is 45 times 2, I got 90. So that 90 I got now, I'm going to do time 90 points, maybe 1.5 or 90 times 2, but times 2 will be too much. So 1.5 is the perfect one. So I'm going to do 90 times 1.5 or 90 times 2, depending on what you want to work with. Because she's already big, I don't want to overload it with fabric. It will be too heavy and too big. So I might do 1.5 and then use it to get around this one. And then I'll come back and show you guys how we're going to get the total length you're working with. So guys, you see what I did here. After that, I just folded the clothes. How I know the length is just to make sure you place the armhole to the armhole, right? Where the armhole comes in here, and then where the armhole comes in at the back. Point the two of them together and then fold the cloth into 2 this way. You see? Fold it into 2 this way. And then you're going to start with the tip of the shoulder from here. The one that has the shoulder, not the off shoulder part, the one with the shoulder. And then you're going to place your tape from the top and then measure down to the end, and make sure you have extra 1 inch for your seam allowance, and then cut every other thing all the way to the end. So that's what I did. I basically placed my tape to the point here, and then I made sure that I had 39 inches because my length is supposed to be 38. I made sure I had 39 all the way to the end so that I can use 1 inch to fold it, and then I cut off every other thing. So now this is what is left here. So now I've equalized the end of the dress. So if you're looking at it now, you will see it might not be showing perfectly here, but this is actually what this dress would look like on the person. So one part is this way, and then this part is this way. But if you look at it, you see that the end is still the same length, right? But it's just that it's this way. It's actually this way. This is what it looks like. So you see? So now what I have to do is just to go ahead and fold the edge of this cloth. After folding it, I'm going to go ahead and put elastic through this casing, pass elastic through this casing, and close up the other end of the elastic, close up the other end of the elastic, and pull as much as I would need to help give this part some grip. You understand? And then I'm also going to pass elastic to the end here and elastic to the end. Fold the end of the cloth. There's no zip, there's no nothing. So all I have to do is just to do my finishing touches.